What I want to ask now, Benjamin, since you have this incredible background, having been a columnist or a reporter for Forbes magazine way back when, as well as for various Japanese publications through the years, I wonder if you can address who benefits. Who benefits by attacking Japan in this way, do you think?
Well, it's a question of trying to maintain a power structure that has been in existence since the end of World War II. And the people who benefit are the big oil corporations, some of the Wall Street banks, and also there's always been a war between the nuclear power industry and the oil industry over control of energy, because energy is 70% of the economy. If you control the energy, you control the society, basically. So it's also about sheer raw power. And attacking the nuclear plants and making them seem dangerous and unsafe is a good way to keep people, addicted to oil. So,
okay, now that's a very perceptive statement. I think that's a great line of inquiry right there.
And I've also there's plenty of evidence that there's so many unanswered questions about the Chernobyl incident. Nuclear power was just going gung ho, it was spreading everywhere, and then the Chernobyl incident came, and some unnamed technicians who still haven't been identified carried out 7 steps, all, very unnatural. And if any one of those steps had not been carried out, the meltdown wouldn't have occurred. So you have to ask yourself, again, who benefits? Well, as soon as that accident happened, all construction of nuclear power plants worldwide just ground to a stop. And again, so it's the oil and the coal guys who make money from that. So you have to ask, was that sabotage? Was that economic sabotage? Because you've got to remember, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars here in with that. And if you have that much money, you can hire plenty of special forces and saboteurs and whatever.
Well, I'm getting evidence sent to me that there was a move to put oil in or to drill for oil in New Zealand, and that part of the reason they did the earthquake in that particular area of New Zealand was because they planned to put in oil fields or something there. This is what I'm being told.
Yeah, this could well be because, clearly I've had from U.S. military intelligence sources, testimony that the tsunami, an earthquake attack on Indonesia, was designed to get the oil rights in that part of the country. And you got to remember, there was a U.S. fleet standing by before the tsunami hit with aid equipment and everything else. But so they have been known. The oil companies do use sheer violence in order to seize oil. Iraq is the most blatant example. That's something that they can't hide. It's just right out there.
Yeah. So, but there also, Dr. Waterman, could you weigh in on this? Do you happen to feel any way, one way or another, in terms of this approach about the oil versus nuclear power?
Oh, well, anytime you've got money involved in these things, they're always trying to, I don't care if they are money hungry, the most important thing that people do when they're in power is try to protect their enterprise, try to protect their empires. So the oil empire is going to continue to try and protect theirs. The nuclear power industry is going to continue to try and protect theirs. Now, really, even those that even lead those industries are lieutenants to a bigger agenda, and the big agenda is, of course, not to ever allow us to have any kind of energy business, which, by the way, represents about 70% of the employment in America anyway. And so when you have the energy industry taken over by free energy, it would just take all their power away. There's never going to be a time when they'll ever get rid of all the nukes, all the oil, and it just depends on what your opinion is about all that. And I know it comes very emotionally and from all different kinds of directions. I'm one that does not believe in peak oil. I am also one that believes in the fact that there's a bunch of stupid mistakes being made by both industries, and that's the cause of a lot of this problem. It's just a mess. In fact, when you start talking about what Fulford was talking about in the Ring of Fire, it was Chile, February of 2010 had the 8.8, and if you look at the Pacific Ocean like a clock dial, it was over about at the 5 o'clock, and then you swing around to about the 8 o'clock, and you have the New Zealand quake on the February 11th or February of this year, and then it was 6.3, and then you go up to about the 11 o'clock hour, and now you've got the Japanese earthquake at March. And so if I were guessing, if I were placing a bet in Las Vegas, I'd be saying the next one's going to be at 2 o'clock, which puts it right into the North American continent. And,
the same people who threatened me did say that the New Madrid fault zone was next. And that, okay, I believe, is in the southwestern U.S.?
No, that's right by Kansas, right down the middle of the country.
Right. That's what that's what they told me they would hit next.
Yeah. There have been rumblings about that, although Cliff High is talking about something in California, I believe, an earthquake.
That's another possibility, because there also talks about, sinking California into the ocean,
I'd anticipate that it's going to probably cause issues, up there around California. And some of the things that always happens right before earthquakes has been happening. They've had a massive fish kill and a die-off at Redonda Beach. There's been a massive fish die-off in Mexico. Whales are moving in close to San Diego, and they're all out of whack. And so all those geomagnetic things are always coming.
Thank you, but let's ask Benjamin if there were any some of those effects happening in Japan prior to the earthquake.
Yeah, that'd be good.
To be honest, not directly. It was happening on a very different level. It was happening at the level of high finance, not at the level of the actual equipment. There were threats being made and counter threats, and I was told. I gave to the Japanese police a list of senior agents here who were working for the oil lobby and those people. And I was told that because I had exposed their network in Japan, that there were going to be terrible consequences. So apparently this is what the consequences were. But there was nothing in terms of natural phenomena. The other thing I'd like to point out, again, is the HARP facilities, and you know where they are, and you know where the underground bases are, and it wouldn't take a lot, I think, to just put them out of commission. The underground bases, all you got to do is cut off their air supply, and that's it, And the HARP facilities, just people inside have to say, hey, why are we working for these insane people? And they just, turn the key and turn the thing off, It's a question. That's why it's psychological warfare. If enough people in the military and other organizations change their minds and say, hey, you know what? I don't think I like what these guys are doing. I know I'm supposed to obey orders, but, there's a certain point, such as killing millions of innocent civilians for no good reason, where military orders should be disobeyed. I mean, it's got to be very extreme, but I think we're at that level.
Okay, what if you just go up another level, though, and you look at a coalescing of power, which this one world government, and there's a very strong effort on that behalf, even to the detriment of the United States, so that the United States is at the end of the gun barrel in many cases in regard to that. At least certain aspects of it.
All right.
And so what happens here is we've got certain countries being hit one right after the other. There were some incredible electrical storms over Australia and the incredible flooding. I mean, if you start looking at the whole world map as sort of a domino effect, and you've got China had a major earthquake out in the provinces, right? And in terms of trying to hit certain countries to make them come on board with an agenda.
All right, look, first of all, there's a couple of things you need to understand. One is that there has always been a world government, or there have been for years, and it's just been kept secret.
I agree with that.
And the other thing is that we do all live on the same planet, and that means we need a certain minimum set of global rules. And that means, for example, that if a country, causes harm to another country, instead of starting a war, there should be a place where they could sue them, and do it in a court of law without resorting to war. And there's we all share the same environment, that we breathe the same air, and we live in the same ecology. So we all have an interest in making sure we keep the air clean and the ecology healthy. And we all also share an interest in making sure that there's no starving people out there. So some kind of minimum, non-centralized set of rules so that we can live together in peace are necessary. But what these New World Order guys were after was something much more radical. They wanted a centralized, absolute fascist dictatorship with a single kind of God-king type leader, a pharaoh or whatever, and with an elite living like kings and the majority, living like slaves. And this model of world government is something that I don't believe anybody except the people who would be at the top are interested in. And that's what our group has been fighting against. You're saying, yeah, we need, we all live in the same planet, and there's certain neighborhood rules we all have to obey. But no, we're not going to sit around and obey some, huge central government in Beijing or wherever, We're an independent, sovereign people, and we have our own lifestyles we want to live. And as long as we don't commit crimes, we should be able to continue to do that. Unfortunately, the U.S. has been committing crimes worldwide, and this has nothing to do with the American people, but you have to address the leadership group that has, put out these arcane publications like Foreign Affairs, where they try to create some kind of, convoluted justification for aggression and theft. And so you have to attack them intellectually, you have to attack them legally, and as a very extreme last resort, you need to, arrest them. You need to have some kind of threat of force in the background within the frame of law saying, hey, if you're going to go around killing people, we're going to put you in jail. This is the bare minimum that the American people need to realize if they want to be, live peacefully on the planet with the rest of us.
I agree. But to get back to this situation in Japan, Benjamin, because it was targeted, if you buy into the idea that it might have been targeted, there's a couple things to look at. One is I happen to watch earthquakes around the world and have been doing for many years. Honshu, Japan, has always been a weak spot. It has had lots and lots of earthquakes, and it actually some quite large ones throughout the time. And so if you're going to target a place, this is just for the listeners as well, with say, a HARP weapon or an electromagnet scalar weapon, then you're going to look for a weakness that already exists. You're not going to create a new one necessarily. So this is taking advantage of a weakness, and a 9-point earthquake is just humongous. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, back when the original atom bombs were hurled at Japan, that was also a move to get Japan into line with an agenda. And so perhaps we can look at this as a similar effort. Would you say?
It's also worth noting that according to U.S. government declassified documents from the 1950s, they were planning at the end of World War II to hit Japan with earthquake weapons. At the time, according to these U.S. government documents, it was to be underground explosions that would set it off. But anyway,
But in terms of the agenda, the agenda as, in other words, a one-world government that is more or less with Nazis, a Nazi sort of at the helm, is obviously the program.
Well, there was two programs. One program was to
sorry, we're going to a commercial. We'll be right back, and please hold that thought and pick it up when we come back.